Okay, so we're going into chapter 8, which is our last chapter of the term. So, also, I think it's the most interesting. It's definitely perhaps one of the most relevant for reasons that I hope you'll be able to appreciate in just a few moments. Um, I will say this chapter is going to have a bit of a different, or I should say, this lecture is going to have a bit of a different feel than some of the others. I've put a lot more into this one, and hopefully that's apparent. Um, and not that I put a lot more into it, but this is an area of interest for me, and it's an area that I keep up with, and you guys may have picked up on that from many of the in the news. Oftentimes they relate to intellectual property issues. All right. Okay. So without further ado, let's get going. All right. So let's start with a working definition of what intellectual property is. Um, it is creations of the mind from, um, and it can vary from a new business process to the manner in which you're going to brand your products to um, uh, songs, music, artistic works, creative works. All of that falls into the category of intellectual property. All right. And typically we're talking about things that are used in commerce, things that are used in business. All right. Now, if I asked you to name the types of intellectual properties, my guess is the majority of you could get three types. We're going to cover four types of intellectual property in this chapter: patents, copyrights, and trademarks. And those are the three that you've probably heard referenced before. Um, and you may already have at least a cursory understanding of what those are. And then the fourth is trade secrets. So we'll detail that a bit when we get there. All right. Okay. So if we were to press pause and actually rewind um, 25, 30 years, um, the largest business is Sears Roebuck. All right. And Sears for a very long time was the world's largest retailer. Um, and its competitive advantage was real estate for the most part. Sears was pretty much everywhere. Most Americans live close to a Sears. If you didn't, you got the Sears catalog, which was a book that they mailed to the house. And most of this was before my time too, but I do understand how it worked. So they mailed the catalog, and you could order things from the catalog. That was Sears, and its competitive advantage was real estate. All right. And if we fast forward to present day, the largest companies are not retailers. They're not, um, well, they may be retail. The largest companies are companies who are able to leverage their intellectual property assets as opposed to the real property or infrastructure assets, right? And so business portfolios are changing, all right? Um, and for instance, Apple Computer is consistently among the largest companies that exist. Amazon, right? These are companies that um, are successful because of their intellectual property um, and the superiority of their intellectual property over their competitors. All right. Um, to kind of give you a feel for how much certain companies are putting into intellectual property. In 2018, Apple Computer invested, $8.1 billion in research and development, right? And what research and development is just all the cost incurred to create new and better products to bring to market. All right, so that's engineer salaries, that's developing prototypes, that's testing prototypes, market research. All of that goes into market research and development, and it is what leads to viable intellectual property. All right. To keep it closer to home, Procter & Gamble spends over $2 billion annually developing new products, new deodorants, new toothpaste, new fragrances, new ways of delivery, right? The spray, think something that used to be in an aerosol, maybe in a pump spray, and that's a new type of intellectual property, all right? Okay, so that's the foundation. In this chapter, we're going to talk about patents, copyrights, trademarks, and trade secrets. And so we'll pick up with patents in just a moment.